Welcome in, everybody. It's the Big Chief Show. It's your boy Freddie D alongside one of the greatest to ever do it. This man sitting to my right, to maybe to your left, depending upon what you're looking at. He spent 14 years in the National Football League, 93
and a half
career sacks, the most everybody knows tackle in the history of the National Football League, over 1,000 career tackles, the pride of the fofo, a Bayou Bengal. Have you had your catalytic converter stolen anytime recently? Never. And you know what? That's saying something, ladies and gentlemen. That is definitely saying something. The one, the only, the pride of Eisenhower High School. We cannot forget that either. Swoop. It's been a while.
It's been a minute.
He's been on the golf course a long time too today.
Yes, sir.
It's hot here in Houston, folks. It is hot. I'm going to get to. By the way, that's Henry Thomas. It says so on the Chiron
right there. Henry Thomas.
Henry, they're complaining in Kansas City that the heat is slowing guys down because it's 90 degrees.
So what? It's training camp.
It's 90 degrees.
It's training camp. It's 90 degrees. Ooh. Well, since when the football players, you got to go play in the heat. You know what? I didn't get regular water until I got to the pros, because in the college and high school, they was like water breaks. That's when you drank water. It wasn't until, maybe the last year of my college career.
There was nobody running up to you and squirting Gatorade or anything like that?
First time we saw that pump, they pump it like this, and then they got a squirter, the water squirts out because of the air compressor.
Yes.
Well, that's the first time I seen that. That was probably my senior year, that we could get water anytime. Until then, coaches got picked. What water?
Henry's dating himself here a little bit, folks. In case you didn't know, Henry played from the third round, 72nd overall pick?
72nd.
72nd overall pick in the 1987 NFL draft. He went on to start.
I know y'all couldn't tell. It's a sign. I did it all the time.
And you started, week 3?
Yeah. What, in
your rookie year?
Oh, I was week 1.
Week one. Never looked back.
Never looked back.
211 out of 217 career games.
There you go.
And a couple of those games, let's not forget for the folks at home, some of those games were end of the year games where the season was over, so there really was no reason for you to play.
Oh, there was reason.
Well, incentive-wise, yes, there were always reasons. Kind of like last night, we're at the Astro game, and it was, it was home run derby.
Yeah,
last night for the Astros, but that's another story for another time. We won't get into the Royals. Let's keep the show positive today. So, lots to get to on today's show. Again, first guest, Henry Thomas, and just a little background. Henry and I have known each other for a decade now. Have done radio for a number of years. Shout out to our boy Teddy J for bringing Henry on.
Absolutely.
Way back when on the Fred and Ted show, we did a segment with Henry. Henry pissed everybody off back then from the jump, not because you meant to, but just because
I'm smart.
Look,
nobody wanted to see it.
Well, the thing was, and this was back in 2013, and I'd asked Henry, I said, look, and this is back when J.J. Watt was just doing J.J. Watt type things before all the soft tissue injuries started to set in.
Correct.
But I'd asked Henry, I said, hey, if we love up J.J. Watt, but give me some things about his game that, he needs to work on, or if you were, playing devil's advocate, what are some things that he could work on? And you said
his pad levels are too high.
And there was a couple other things you said too.
And he'll open up lanes. He runs up the field too much.
So Henry says that, and mind you, the Texans were having a horrific season. They went 2-14 that year, and so of course JJ was the only bright spot on the team. The text lines flooded in. Who the hell is this Henry Thomas guy? What the fuck does he know? Blah blah blah. And then of course they Googled him, and then suddenly everything stopped. But that being said, of course, then there was the occasional, you didn't have the career he did. You know how this goes. And then, of course, within probably, I remember within a month, that Thanksgiving game,
right?
The commentator, and don't ask me who it was, literally said verbatim, the knock on him as he sees him, his pad level, because there was 2 or 3 touchdowns that the Lions scored that game where he had gone in, went to the wrong gap.
Exactly.
Boom.
Ran up the field, opened the lane, touchdown.
So that's a little bit of Henry Thomas in a nutshell. And like I said, we've been doing this for 10 years straight now. So if there's anybody that knows the defensive tackle position better than Henry Thomas, please feel free to chime into the show. We'd love to have you.
And there'll only be one person. That better be Pete Jenkins. No? Okay, no.
Well, and I'll tell you what, and I'm glad you mentioned Pete Jenkins because that to help give folks some kind of some synergy on how this all works, Pete Jenkins, and I'm sure there's a few Chiefs fans out there that recognize that name, but he also, not only was he your mentor and kind of helped you get to where you got, obviously a lot of hard work and what have you, but he was also the guy that coached up Chris Jones prior to him going to the Chiefs.
Did some coaching with Chris Jones. A lot of players. Pete Jenkins was my college D-line coach. Taught me everything I knew about the game itself.
Widely regarded. And look, I don't know that we give it. Look, we give a lot of D coordinators love. I mean, the Dick LeBeaus, the Joe. Who was it? Homeboy from Philly, Jim Jones, the guy who used to blitz all the time. Jim Johnson. Jim Johnson, the Buddy Ryans of the world. Ryans. The names go on and on and on, right? I don't know that we love up position coaches quite the same as we do D coordinators and offensive coordinators, probably because eventually they become, if they're good, they become coordinators.
That's the thing. When you're a position coach, for Pete Jenkins, he didn't have the aspirations of becoming a coordinator because his love was for the defensive line.
Right.
And if he became a defense coordinator, which he had in the past, he tied that in with the D-line, but he wanted his passion is D-line.
So he was kind of like your boy Dante Scarnecchia.
Okay.
With another guy that you know. Scarnecchia?
Yeah.
Because was he strictly a Patriots guy or was he a Bill Belichick guy?
I think he was a Patriot guy.
Okay. So he was there for 4 years you played.
Yeah. Before Belichick got there, yes.
By the way, Henry Thomas, 8 years with the Vikings, 2 years with the Lions, which we'll get to here in a little bit because for those out there, 4 years in New England.
Retired the year they won the Super Bowl, but I've been therapy now. They say I'm better.
And the shitty part about that, Henry Thomas, is that it wasn't that you couldn't play.
No, I had 1 or 2 more left in me. Maybe, possibly.
Definitely one.
Definitely one.
Definitely one. Right? Yes. So like this wasn't because you started all 16 games your 14th year in the NFL, correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's how I do.
Real quick for the folks at home so they can hear this story. Who cut you?
Bill Belichick.
How'd that go?
Not great. Called me on the golf course, told me they were letting me go. They're gonna bring me back because I have an hour before I got a big bonus, roster bonus.
Man cut you an hour before.
Hour before.
What had happened if you wouldn't have answered the phone?
Thought it just been cut behind me. I'm pretty sure they would have been like, don't answer.
Oh, so it doesn't matter if there's no rule where they have to contact you and get into contact with you. When you get gone, you get gone.
You're gone. And then 20 minutes later, I hear Bledsoe became the highest paid in the history of the game.
It's a damn shame when we think about Henry Thomas, the fact that 2 lanky-ass white dudes have made their money, and it's affected you directly.
Now that you put it like that, thanks for that too.
Damn.
Another 2 days on the couch for that one. Thanks so much.
At least with Drew Bledsoe, he had an all-pro at times career.
Right.
Scott Mitchell just sucked.
Yeah, he had his moments of suckiness all the time. He made his mark, did some things, got paid, then
they cut my man because of it.
Yeah, we got to get some. We need some money, and you're not way up here, but you're at the right point.
You're here enough to where we got to free some shit up, and
we'll try to bring you back for less.
And that's what football speak for. Unless you want to take a bargain basement price, you're gone.
Can't do that. No. Who's going to do that?
You'd already been in the league 10 years.
Yeah.
You had a precedent. The precedent had already been set. You had a reputation to uphold.
Everybody knew. Yeah.
And plus, you would come off a double-digit sack season in Detroit.
The year before, yeah.
So, well, look, we're going to get to so look, that's kind of sets the stage, folks, for our boy Henry Thomas and what he did in the National Football League. And look, Henry's going to be on with us more than once, so stand by for that. We're going to get to the conversation you had with Aaron Glenn just a few weeks ago, because for those of you that don't know, Henry still does some one-on-one coaching throughout the course of the National Football League. Again, one of the more sought-after guys in the NFL and really in just all of defensive line play across the country. Your boy Pete Jenkins, he's one of the guys that Henry's one of the guys that Pete brings in. You can find him on his website as well. So we're going to get to the conversation you had with Aaron Glenn, because let's call it what it is. What was interesting about that Lions team last year, especially for as bad as that defense started out, They get rid of the DB coach. I think there was one other guy they got rid of. They didn't get rid of Aaron Glenn, even though there were cat calls and booty calls and all kind of calls to get rid of him. Your boy Dan Campbell, who we'll get to him in just a second, because you and I think, are on the same page. You and I, there's things that you and I agree wholeheartedly on. There's other things where you and I, couldn't be further apart on. But I think you and I are both kind of on the same boat when it comes to Dan Campbell. But we'll get to what you talked about with Aaron Glenn, because, again, talk about a guy that faced a ton of adversity, and especially in this social media age where I'm sure everybody was calling for him to be fired. Damn near made the playoffs. And that defense was a big reason why. More of a bend don't break kind of mentality there in that last 8-9 games of the season.
Absolutely, and it was fun working with his guys that had come out. Brought a couple of young guys, and
although your boy Hutchinson wasn't there.
No,
doesn't want the big house. Although he might already have money for the big house.
Might already have money. It's a slow process. They come around. And like, how did he get so good? So,
that's the guy.
We might go see him.
Well, I don't think it's a coincidence that you worked with Hayward a couple of years ago for the Steelers, and he went and had arguably his best defensive line year ever that following season. So again, the proof's in the pudding, boys and girls. Did your boy offer you a gig though afterwards?
No one's offered a gig. No. I'm not in a position to take a gig at the moment.
See, that's where I draw the line.
Yeah, he didn't have to. He understood where I was in life. And
so you made it clear. Look, this is what I'm here for.
I have a passion for coaching D-line. I don't want to coach it in the NFL.
That's a great point. You don't have time for that.
I've worked so hard to get. Here it is. Do I want to stop playing golf twice a week? No. Do I want to stop bowling twice a week? No. There's things I'd like to do, So I'll train you in the off season. Yeah. Set you up, 4 or 5 days, go.
It's not a bad gig.
Yeah, get you set, get you ready to go, get you on the right page, and then I'll go home and watch you and critique you. It's like, I ain't teaching that.
That's it. That's exactly right. All right. So the story, though, that I think jumps to the top of the page, and of course, Chiefs have been in pads for a couple days now, and a lot of teams are just now starting to get into pads. I think, we're here in Houston. Texas just got into pads. I think today was the first day, which is obviously a far cry from when you played, because I think you guys actually got pads as you were walking onto the training camp floor. In barracks, as a matter of fact.
You're getting your pads, you're getting everything that first day. That first practice, it might have been shells to show the pads and helmet, but that was the same thing.
Just to knock the rust off.
Yeah, just to knock the rust off, get a little something going. Hour and a half, 2 hours worth of work, and then here we go.
It's a different NFL, boys and girls.
It's definitely a different time.
You crawled so they could walk.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. And
actually, I ran so they can crawl.
Yeah, because that's what they're doing now.
It takes them a long time to get in pads, and that's why when you're talking about Campbell.
Well, and he had a great line, and we'll get to that in a second. But I want to get to Chris Jones, because you and I mean, look, first of all, the thing about Henry Thomas is Henry is a fan of all things National Football League. And, of course, I've been very fortunate to work with NFL players, so I've had a chance to watch football with NFL guys. And, when you watch games with guys that played, and I'm not talking about your uncle that, was the backup safety in high school and talks about how, if he was there, he could have done that, or the guys that like to complain about how there's a foul or, a flag on every play. Right. Nobody likes those guys, right? So when you get a true NFL guy who actually knows what he's watching and can explain things to you, it certainly opens your eyes. You and I have watched Chris Jones now for the better part of the last 7 or 8 years, and your biggest critique on Chris Jones is what?
He's a 60% player.
Say that again for the folks in the back.
60% player. He plays full goal 60% of the time. He has an ability to do it all the time, and he can turn it on some of the time, but he doesn't do it 100% of the time. And no one does it 100%. Don't get me wrong, but you got to give me more effort, like 80 to 90% of the time.
So what? I mean, and what do you think that is? I mean, is that just where, from a coaching staff, guys can't get through to him, or that's just part of his DNA, or there's not enough guys on that team that are, because like I said, when you talk about when you played with Dolman and Johnny Randall and Keith Millard, I mean, if somebody was playing 60% of the time, my guess is somebody would have said something. And I know you would have said something.
Oh, yeah. We all would have had something to say, look, that's not the effort we need here.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want here. But, when you're fortunate to play around that caliber of guys.
Hall of Famers.
everybody's striving to do. I want to do good. I want to do better than him. I want to do better than him. He wants to do better than me, but not to the point where it's a detriment to the team. It brought the team together because it was a competition, but it was a competition within the team.
So when you look at Chris Jones, and I don't think, look, not surprisingly, something that was talked about, and I think a lot of folks in Kansas City knew going into year 4 of a 4-year, $80 million deal that there was a good potential that he might decide that he was going to hold out this year, especially, and maybe he doesn't if so many D tackles didn't get paid this offseason, but we talked about Simmons from the Titans. Quinnen Williams is now the second highest paid. And then we got our boy, I think, Daron Payne from the Redskins, Commanders, whatever team you want to call them now. They all got 4-year, $90+ million deals. All right.
And he's in the last year of his.
He's in the last year of his 4-year deal.
$80 million.
Exactly. So he was already making $20 million, right? So, I mean, again,
so he was the standard, and now he's not. Now he wants to be again.
Well, I mean, your standard is Aaron Donald, right? I mean, if we're talking, if we're talking standard,
like Aaron Donald?
Well, think about it this way: he's making $31 million, which is an outlier, right? You ain't paying, no one's paying. And look, I get all the reports, and they say, look, he wants to be somewhere. So right now, Quinnen Williams is number two D tackle.
Well, let's talk about numbers. Let me play general manager. Let's talk about what was his numbers last year.
Well, he did have 15.5 sacks.
15.5 sacks.
Yeah, from the defense, the second time, tying his career high from 3 or 4 years ago.
I love it.
And notched his first 2 career postseason sacks.
Okay, I like that.
Well, it was about time. I mean, after 5 fucking 5 AFC championships in a row, it was nice to finally see him get to the quarterback.
Okay, so that's the time that he earned that $80 million.
What? Because that's nut cutting time, right?
It's nut cutting time. So now it's time to play.
Yes.
So this is your last season on this contract.
Going into this season, yes. 2023 being the last year of the $80 million deal.
And you don't want to show up for that $20 million to play this last season.
Right now, no. I mean, right now he's incurring a $50,000 a day fine. But
let's do the math on that. Where's your phone?
Well, I mean, you figure. Well, let's think about it. He's already missed a week, so 7 times 5. I mean, he's over $250,000. He's at $350,000. Now you got to think, and a lot of times they put those numbers out there. I mean, I'm sure they're going to finagle something with him to bring him back. Here's where, and so a lot of folks are saying, or again, this is kind of are the Chiefs the new dynasty now that the Pats are done. I say yes, they because you've got a guy in Patrick Mahomes who has taken what's now become a below market deal. Right, because he's now the 7th, I think somewhere like 6th or 7th paid highest quarterback, or somewhere in that ballpark on an annual basis. Okay. Now Mahomes has made it clear, I'm about legacy and winning titles. Okay. Getting paid is not important to me. And by the way, the guy signed a $500 million deal, so Pat's gonna be okay.
Pat's gonna be
okay. Pat's gonna be just fine. Okay, all right.
I like it.
You've seen the quarterback Netflix series or parts of it. Okay, I mean, it might as well be called Patrick and the Pips. All right, because that's basically what it is, right?
Yeah,
which
you made me watch it. Okay. Other than the Mahomes thing,
by the way, okay, real quick. We like to get on tangents here every now and again. You being a Minnesota guy, what was your take on your boy Kurt?
I was not happy with it.
No,
and everybody said, "Oh, he
is a nice guy.
He's a hell of a guy." Yeah, I need a damn good quarterback. I don't need a hell of a nice guy in Minnesota.
He is the epitome of golly gee shucks. I don't think he cursed the entire time.
I don't think so either.
And then Mariota, what was that? Just B-roll footage they had?
Yeah, he's like, "What? You want me to hold this clipboard and this headphone?" Yeah, I'm good. How much? I'm getting $5 million a year. Okay, yeah. No, this second phase.
What you're gonna? I mean, okay. When he found out they were gonna swap him out with Desmond Ridder.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that knee has been bugging me for the last decade. You know what? My baby's about to be born. You know what I'm saying? My little bounce. If that's not the epitome of quitting on a team, I don't know what is.
Hey. It was crazy.
Is it not?
It was the wildest thing I've ever seen. I couldn't even watch it all. I was just like, I love the Pat Mahomes part of it, the work he put in to be the best. And then you saw the rest of it that was like,
Did you know he was a shit talker on the field the way he does? And he's not like that. And he's a very like circumstantial shit talker. Right?
I saw that early.
Yeah.
He had it early. Like he did it early, like when he counted off all the quarterbacks that went before him.
I'm telling
you.
He
did it early. I knew that was in him.
I think we forget because he's such a nice guy off the field that he's still a competitor.
Oh, yeah.
And, look, Pat Mahomes Sr. is no slouch either.
Nope.
All right. Look, to be a black pitcher in the 90s that wasn't from the Dominican or from South America.
Exactly.
What are we counting? 5 on one hand? Period. Pat been through the Mahomes family been through some things, not including Jackson, but that's another story for another time. What was your take on Brittany?
Yeah.
Tell you what,
high school sweetheart.
At the very least, she is ride or die.
She is.
I'll give her that.
I'll
give her that.
I've noticed the way she jumped from Jackson to this.
That real quick.
This is the right Mahomes over here. You go. Yeah.
They left him out of that show real quick.
Oh yeah, like you my brother. No, we're not doing that.
But I did appreciate the fact that at the end, they said that the two things after he just won the game, the one thing he had to go do was hug his dad.
Yeah.
Had to go hug his dad. And I'll tell you what, God bless dads. Okay. God bless dads. Okay, bringing it back real quick to Chris Jones. Here's where he's got some leverage, and this is where if you're his agent, if you're Chris Jones, and you know in this all too well, as a guy who's taken on more than a double team in his day. All right. That defensive line is awfully thin after Chris Jones.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's the leverage he has.
And oh, by the way, you don't have a guy on that roster who in his, dare I say, career, barely his career. Maybe one or two guys who have notched double-digit sacks. Not in a season. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm just talking general. Okay? Yeah, you expect a rookie to have a bounce-back year. Or excuse me, to build on it. Karlaftis, right?
Yeah.
Karlaftis, I expect to really take a step in year 2. He's talked about it. Again, he's got, I think he's Greek or something like that. Hadn't come seen you yet, all right. So maybe next offseason we'll put the bug. But see, you're getting introduced to a whole new audience, though. See, you're getting introduced to that Chiefs audience, right?
Okay,
so
right.
Now there, a lot of people are probably Googling. We'll probably see a spike in Henry Thomas Google searches here during the next week or two.
Yeah, should not do that. I am old.
It's all right. We got my boy Tab is going to take care of that for you. But you got Karlaftis, who I think had 6 last year. But look, you got no Frank Clark, who you and I are both, when he wants to play, can be dynamic. Which I will say, the one thing you can't argue with our boy Frank Clark, who did find a home, is that guy in the postseason.
Yeah.
Right? You had Carlos Dunlap, who was a good presence on that defensive line as well. A little past his prime, only had 4.5 sacks last year, but was a good locker room presence. He's a guy that they've talked about potentially bringing back, but, hell, he's been in the league 12, 13 years.
Right.
He's running businesses. He's got a restaurant. And he's already said, I'd like to come back, but I'm realistic.
Okay.
So he knows what the deal is. He knows what his role would be if he comes back.
So now we're trying to develop some defensive linemen.
Well, that's just it. And then you got your rookie that you got from K-State, who's been banged up already. And again, I liked him, but I wasn't, K-State bias aside, I wasn't. Okay, great. So you got a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you got Daniel Wise, who, got cut by the Commanders last year. Okay, so you signed him to a reserves contract. Okay, he's played 17 games in 2 years. Again, good backup special teams type.
Yeah.
But he ain't no Chris Jones. And then you got our boy Derek Nottie, who, again, big run stuffing, big body. But again, not a Chris Jones. And really just an okay presence. So you don't have any real studs on that D-line in the absence of Chris Jones. So that's where, to me, he's got a whole hell of a lot more leverage than, say, a Tyreek Hill had.
Right.
Because look, at the end of the day, Tyreek leaves. Oh, okay, so we're just going to go sign some new receivers. And, oh, by the way, we still got the guy that throws the football.
That's right.
Oh, and you still got the best tight end in football.
But when it comes to Chris Jones, you're right. He's got a
lot of leverage,
a ton of leverage, but I don't know. It's still $20 million sitting on the table.
But I guess my thing is this, though. Do you figure that, A, it's training camp, so he's saying to himself.
It's training camp. It's this year's training camp. What are they at, 14 days in training camp?
Yeah.
It's not like he's going to kill him.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So for him missing is not
playing out of shape.
Well, and you got to figure he's not going to, because look, it's going to be a bad look if he comes in out of shape and signs a new deal.
Yeah.
Right?
Come in and be like,
Because you could argue too, if the Chiefs go ahead, because look, you're going to open up cap space too. That's the other thing too that they keep talking about is that, like I said, you got a $20 million cap hit. So if you go ahead and extend that, that's going to change the cap figures, what have you. But on top of that, look, he's got leverage in the sense that none of your linebackers are really that great at rushing the passer. We know Spags loves to blitz.
Right.
Okay. And that defensive secondary I'm excited about because, again, you got really young last year. I mean, you had 3 7th-round draft picks playing at one time last year for crying out loud. So you're going to be fine there. But again, as well as I do, Henry Thomas, if you don't have any pressure up the middle, and that's the one thing that makes Chris Jones special, is it's one thing to have outside linebackers, edge guys that are able to bring pressure. But when you can get pressure up the middle,
push the pocket.
That changes everything.
Quarterback trap.
Right?
Push the pocket, bring it in from the sides. Yeah.
It's game over.
That's what made him special this year. Like you said, like last year, he had a really, really good year. I mean, numbers wise, tackles and what have you, he did have a really good year. He played like it was almost the end of his contract.
That's why he played like a guy that may have known he was going into a contract year.
Exactly.
He's 28, 29 years old. Henry Thomas, you played till you were what, 35, 36?
35, 36, yeah.
Okay. So at 28, 29 years old, where are you? And again,
I know exactly where I'm at.
Let's call it what it is. Now, again, you were a guy that took really good care of his body throughout the course of your NFL career. You didn't play 14 seasons and damn near start every single game by accident. As you and I talked about when you were at that camp a few weeks ago, the technology, the dieting, the way everything has changed with these guys, right? At 28, 29, where's he at in terms of football years, and how much more do you feel good giving him, say, a 4-year, $102, $105 million contract?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm 100% good with it if he's coming to play. Yeah. Don't get the money and then sit down on me.
That's the only thing you're worried about, right?
Because I worry about it from what I said about earlier, the effort
you've seen already.
And then you get a little fat and happy, get a little cash in your pocket. Then it's at 28. When I was 28, I was cut by the Vikings.
Okay.
My contract ran out. Actually, the year before, I was a franchise player. They wouldn't give me a contract.
The franchise tag was a little bit different back then than it is now. You'd love to get that running back franchise money, wouldn't you?
It was a little bit different. But I was
what are they complaining about?
I was franchise player that year. And then at the end of the season, they said, well, we're not going to negotiate a contract. Anything anybody offers you, we'll match it. And Detroit said, hey, man, come here and look at this for a moment. And so that was it.
And so when you called Minnesota and said, hey.
Oh, that's a really good deal. Good luck. Click. That was it. That's all I got. That's it. I called and laid it out.
We're going to match it? All right, good luck.
Yeah.
See you in Pontiac.
Yeah, and then I come back to Minneapolis. I hear him on the radio. We never had a chance. We didn't even get a chance to sign Henry. I'm like, and then I called the radio station because I got 2 shows on this station. Like, hey, put me on. Let's talk. Nope, can't do it. Hey, bye.
They wouldn't even let you on the. They wouldn't even let you on the air.
No, I'm riding in the car from the airport, listening to him on the radio saying they never had a shot.
So even from a good radio standpoint, they wouldn't let you call in and speak your piece.
Oh, look, I'm in the Audi with the phone in the thing, so it's
costing me $94.95.
Yeah, it's costing me like $8 a minute.
You're rolling and then some.
So I'm calling on the phone in the car, like, hey man, look, hey, this Hank, put me on. No, let me talk. What? No,
that's incredible to me.
They wouldn't even put me on the air. But you know what?
It's a different time, dude. If you did that today in today's world,
there was no social media.
Nah, there wasn't. There wasn't. And Jeff, God bless Jeff Duran's your agent at the time. I'm guessing wasn't of the belief of like let's go on the offensive or anything like that. It's not really not Jeff's style.
He's getting a portion of the money.
Yeah,
he was like,
hey, look,
come on. That's your pass now. That's your pass. Come on.
We're moving forward. But hey, you did have a great season the next year in Detroit. So
still great.
So Chris Jones, look, I think when it's all said and done, Chris Jones is going to get a deal. I think it's going to be, he wants it closer to $31 million, which, you don't blame him. Of course he does, right?
Yeah.
It'd be silly not to. I don't look, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm giving him 26, 27 mil. Calling it a day. Look, you're the face of our defense at 26, 27 million dollars. I don't expect him to take the same kind of hometown, team-friendly deal that Pat Mahomes took.
Right.
But let's not forget to The cap is going to continue to go up. I'm sure there's going to be incentives they can work in for him,
Absolutely.
right? And again, most of it's going to be. I mean, you figure he's probably going to get if it's 100. Let's just say it's $105 million deal. Let's say it's a 4-year, $105 million deal. You figure what? 70, 80 of that will be guaranteed.
70, yeah. Hey, let's go.
I mean, come on, man.
Got no worries at
you know what I'm saying? At that point,
Yeah.
you and your family have generational wealth. You got 4 years to go win 2 or 3 more Super Bowls.
There you go.
Let's go do it.
Hey, now you map out your legacy.
That's it. That's it. Because
Get your gold jacket.
if that's it, right? That's the conversation that needs to be had if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, we're here to give you 26, 27 mil a year. All right. And at this point now, you ain't got to worry about money. Now it's about legacy, and let's go get Super Bowl rings. Because look, if he helps take the Chiefs to 2 or 3 more Super Bowls,
Right.
and averages somewhere between 8 to 12 sacks and gets you 1 to 3 sacks in the postseason. Because look, you're going to the postseason, God forbid or God willing, as long as Pat Mahomes is your quarterback.
Okay.
Okay. You know that, right?
I like it.
There's no look. I said this and look. I went on a little bit of a rant last show because Mike Florio, he loves to antagonize and what have you.
Okay.
So when Herbert got his deal, the conversation, he tweets out, "Oh, Pat Mahomes better do something because now he's $7.5 million, making $7.5 million less than what Justin Herbert's making." Okay. Here's what I ask you, Henry Thomas. When you think of the all-time greats, all right, and let's just use this now that we've had the way the money has just totally skyrocketed in the last 10 to 15 years. When we talk about Tom Brady, are we is the conversation going to be about his Super Bowl rings, or is it going to be about how much money he made?
Super Bowl ring.
Okay, and we think about Peyton Manning. Hell, when we think about the John Elways, the Dan Marinos, the guys you played with, the Montanians.
Young.
Do we think about how much money they made?
No.
Even if we just said, just let's take it for quote unquote inflation or use it because they were making good money. Because
Right.
let's call it what it is. Quarterbacks have always made good money, have they not?
Always.
Right.
Always.
I mean, even and again,
from Broadway Joe on. There you go.
quarterbacks have always been paid. And so my thing is, if Pat Mahomes is making $5 to $6 million less than Justin Herbert, my question for you is, who would you rather be?
Yeah. Who? Where?
Okay.
Who? I mean, you want me to pick which quarterback I want?
You know what I'm
I'll
saying?
take that bargain.
Yeah, give me that bargain basement guy at Pat
right
Mahomes
here.
making, kibbles and bits over there in
Let's
Kansas
see
City.
what that is.
And the fact that, and this is what I love about Pat Mahomes. Pat understood, and kudos to Brett Veach too, and for locking him up right after they won that first Super Bowl against the 49ers. He's taken a page from that Tom Brady book where, Tom was always not necessarily, I mean, he wasn't in the middle tier by any means.
But
he's in that top 5, top 10.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? But why did he do that? So, and look, that was one of the reasons why he left at the end was because he was tired of saying, "Hey, I've been taking pay cuts for years for you guys."
Yep. Now you're not bringing anybody in.
And you brought nobody in. That's the thing that you can at least say about Brett Veach. And that's why I think a deal with Chris Jones inevitably gets done. Because, again, the leverage he has, the fact that D-line wise, you are scarce as all get out. This is not a situation like Tyreek where you can afford to trade him and get something. Because you're not going to get anything near enough in return.
Right.
For right now.
Yeah, because Tyreek, you can get a cluster of guys.
Which you saw.
Exactly. You got a whole bunch of guys, different guys that got the ball. With a defensive line, you can't do that with Jones.
You can't because, again, and you're not going to find anybody that's going to be able to – I mean, look, there's no nose tackle or D tackle right now that you can even – look, there's very few D ends.
Yeah.
Let's just put it this way. There's very few guys in the entire NFL right now that can get to the quarterback like a Chris Jones does. So it's just hard. It's just a different situation. But, again, the thing about Brett Veach is he is whether it was the old line
right
that he brought in, okay? I mean, look, they made sure, okay, 15 ever since that Super Bowl against Tampa Bay,
yep.
Veach said our boy's not getting hit.
There you go.
Okay, and he has not. Wide receiver wise, they've continued to recycle guys, get people in, and it's one of those deals where look, they were in with D-Hop till the end.
Yeah.
Which allegedly up until draft day, they were still in big time conversations with him, but then OBJ got that 1 year, $18 million deal.
Yeah.
You ain't bringing in DeAndre Hopkins for $18 million.
No, you're not.
Okay, and really, you shouldn't have brought in OBJ for $18 million, but Baltimore needed something.
Yeah.
Right? And now you're in a situation with the Chiefs where you've got, you're going 6-7 deep right now at wide receiver.
Absolutely.
Okay? Here's the thing. Count how many And I guess my thing is this.
Well, with 6-7 deep wide receivers, that makes your D line numbers short because you carrying all these guys.
Yeah.
You can't carry a bunch of guys, so you got to pay him.
You really do.
Yeah, you got to bring him in. You got to
really
give him the money.
No, and I think he knows that. And like I said, I think it's one of those deals now where maybe it drags until maybe the first or second week of the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
You get a couple games, but he's got to get. But from his sake, how many weeks do you need to really get ready before the season starts with today's training camp?
I needed all 4 months. I mean, I was ready. I was in shape. I was good to go. But you needed at least those 3. But again, it's a different time because we were hitting twice a day.
Yeah.
4 out of the 7 days of the week. That
True.
We're out there getting the feel for it, knowing what it was, seeing where it was coming. You had to be in fire to be in fire,
Exactly.
Because nowadays I always say that the NFL doesn't get good till week 5 or 6.
No, it doesn't, and it's been like that. Like you said, it's been like that for a few years now.
Yeah, ever since that new great bargaining agreement.
Now I will say it did help you out though, right?
Either way, man. I got a bunch of dogs in that fight. I don't care what happens. Like, I can't say nothing.
What are they doing for the retirees? That's all I care. You want to add 6 games? What does that mean? More money for the retirees?
Like, hey guys, we all got one thing in common. We're all going to be retired.
That's right.
NFL players.
That's exactly right. We're looking out for you guys. Okay. Again, we crawled, so you can crawl a lot less.
That's right.
Exactly. All right. We're both in agreement the Chris Jones deal gets done. Now, again, you talked to Aaron Glenn. This is a Detroit team that it obviously lets you know what the NFL thinks of the Detroit Lions. The fact that they are kicking off the season against the defending Super Bowl champions. All right, which let's call it what it is. You played in Detroit for 2 years. I don't know that the malaise and/or the stigma around the Lions has changed much. I mean, it's starting to now.
Yeah,
but even when you played 20, 25 years ago with them, it seems like it's kind of been that same.
It's the fan base is great. They're always hopeful.
Yeah,
they're behind you 100%. Then you start going the other way, and then they're still behind you, but
they're used to it. It's like an abusive relationship,
and
they just keep coming back.
And it was just like like that in New England. Even though when I first got to New England, they had just come off a Super Bowl.
Right. But that wasn't the New England that we know now.
Yeah, but the fan base was the same thing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like, oh yeah, they're doing good now, but they're fucking up.
Yeah.
That's how it was. But in Detroit, they're always there. And when I had a couple of guys from Detroit in the camp with Coach Jenkins, and defensive coordinator is there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know that cat.
Yeah.
And I was like, Coach, who's that? He's like, oh, that's
Aaron Glenn.
I was Aaron Glenn. I was like, who's that? I was like, coordinator. He goes, yeah. So struck up a conversation after the first day of his older guys that were there, because they weren't going to be able to stay the whole camp. After the first day, he was on the phone, had 2 young guys that starting their second year, explosive, just electrifying looking guys that I was very impressed with, had them fly down to take over to do the last 3 days of the camp, which was impressive. And speaking with him, I had asked, how'd it go? I was like, you guys are on the verge of doing something really great.
Yeah.
But then how y'all turn it around? He goes, it's really the kids and the coach. And I was like, well, y'all got rid of a lot of guys because, they never know when they lost. So
that's a big deal.
He said they always were in every game in their mind, no matter what.
Yeah,
they were in every game, and you can watch it. And he said, go back and watch all the tapes, even the ones that were awful.
That's that is true. I mean, it wasn't like they were getting the brakes beat off of them week after week. That was one of those stingy, and you're right. That's the thing about a young team is that as long as you don't let them lose their way.
Yeah, and that's the thing that we talk about. I talked with Coach Jenkins about it, and I said, I watched a couple of the games. They always played hard. He goes, yeah, but what didn't you see? And I was like, techniques were sloppy. Yes, exactly. And Aaron was also in New Orleans.
I'm going to say, because hell, Aaron Glenn had a 10, 12, 13-year NFL
well,
career.
He coached in New Orleans, and the defense coordinator in New Orleans.
He was with Dan Campbell in New Orleans, wasn't he?
If he was a coordinator, well, they had guys from their D line that always came to see Coach Jenkins.
Okay.
So he's
based out of Baton Rouge, isn't he?
Baton Rouge. Well, he's in Baton Rouge and Destin, but
well, I mean, when you're retired,
you earn that kind of stuff.
Exactly. You can say that again.
So, and he had guys, and he saw the benefits of the technique from the upfront guys, how it benefited his guys, and so he's a coordinator. He's got some defensive linemen coming down, and it was really good to see, and made us feel good to have somebody that recognized that.
Well, I mean, come on, man. We're in a time now with the NFL where the money is so big and the stakes are so high. Would you argue the NFL is more of a business now than it was when you played?
NFL's always been a business.
It has, right?
Always been. It's just a bigger business.
That's it. That's
it's always been a big business.
I mean you literally told us about getting cut on the on the grass
on the golf course. Cut, call me back. Hey, we're gonna give you. Guess what? We'll give you that bonus you're gonna get as your salary.
What? And how was he on the phone about it?
Nonchalant.
I mean, it is Bill Belichick.
Very direct, very nonchalant about it. And he said, he goes, I'm gonna tell you this right now. We are a Super Bowl team. With Henry Thomas, we're a Super Bowl champ.
Well, I tell you what,
hard to walk away from that.
Well, I tell you what, bonus. I mean, I know the pay cut was something, but I mean,
it was, and I was.
It's gotta hurt, especially when you didn't call him like midway through the season. Hey,
man, look, I've been in therapy, man. I'm better.
I'm just here in the Bobo chilling.
No, I was
no, you'd moved out of.
Oh yeah, I was in the spring by that time. But it was it was kind of to watch it. It was great to see, and I mean all the guys. I mean I was in touch with everybody. Everybody's calling and then
this was before texting.
No. They ain't texting then, but
did they?
Yeah.
Ain't nobody texting in 2001.
Well, they were texting in 2001.
Bruh, nobody was texting in 2001.
You had to hit the button 3 times to that 3 letters on the thing, but they were texting. It was like, hey,
you had one of them special phones, man.
Man, everybody was calling. I
don't really remember texting until I got to college.
Yeah, but you're a youngster.
It's true. It's true. Last thing. You and I are both jumping on the Dan Campbell bandwagon.
Yes.
And you were not crazy about Dan Campbell.
No, I thought he was a WWE wrestler.
What has changed for you?
I saw a clip from his first or second practice.
By the way, you sent me, but I had sent to you like 3 days prior.
Okay. That was just unbelievable. Like I think they were in the 3rd day of practice and he went live.
Yeah.
And everybody was pissed off with him. And he told the guys,
this is why I'm doing it.
We're not going to wait till week 8.
I'll tell you what, I heard, and that's why I sent that to you.
When he said it,
because I heard you in my head. That's the same shit Henry Thomas has been saying. These guys aren't getting good until week 4, 5, or 6 because of the beating, and that's why he's got them going live in 3 days.
Have them going live, and he goes, I'm thinking about you guys.
Yeah.
And the way he put it and the way he broke it down to him, I was like, okay, this guy's starting to win me over.
Right?
Because before I just thought he was like,
There's a method to his madness, though.
But yeah, I mean, look at what they did at the end of last season.
They never gave up.
The bad thing about it this season is they're everybody's sheep pick. You know what I'm saying? They are. I mean, but at the same time, too, though, I would argue that the NFC is so wide open. To me, you've got 2 teams. Really, to me, the one team that you know is going to be good this year is going to be Philly. Absolutely.
All right. Sirianni has got. I mean, I read where he was busting balls because they either stopped practice or something like that the other day because he didn't like the way they were performing. The 49ers are going to be tough.
Always.
And the Cowboys are going to be somewhere in the mix. Now, look, they're going to shit the bed. Come.
You say Cowboys?
I did say the Cowboys.
The Cowboys.
They got too much talent, man. Now, look,
they've always had too much talent.
They're going to find a way to shit the bed come playoff time.
They're going to shit the bed.
But they will. But the thing with the Cowboys is they always find a way to rattle off 3 or 4 wins, something like that. Look, they're going to be in it. Although I will say this.
Because they got the Commanders twice.
Although, well, I'm glad you said that, though. Because, look.
They got the Giants twice.
I am I'm not a Commanders fan in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
But I will be a Commanders fan, or I will be a Commanders. I am going to watch them with I'm going to be a interested viewer because I want to see what Eric Bieniemy does with that offense. Because look, they've got check it out. Look, I know Sam Howell is the gazillion-dollar question mark because again, we don't know what he is, and he may just be a turd Ferguson, and if he is, then you can't blame Eric Bieniemy for that. But look, they've got some weapons on that offense. They really do. I mean, Terry McLaurin is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL that you don't know about because he's in freaking Washington. They've got a good running game.
What have you said about Bieniemy in the past?
That's my point. Is I really look.
So you're eager to see if he lives up to the hype from not from.
Look,
from
I feel bad because somebody, there was a tweet the other day from a guy here in Houston that said he was watching the quarterback show and he was like, "Man, I'm really surprised at how much they don't show Eric Bieniemy and how much Pat Mahomes doesn't talk to him." I'm like, well, that's coming from somebody that doesn't watch the Chiefs because you and I talked about it, and I told you last year, watch when he goes to the side. And I told you this during the preseason.
Yes.
I said, watch how when he goes to the sideline, the first dude he goes to is Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
And you saw that all season long. So, I mean, it wasn't any big surprise that, Bieniemy was going to leave this year. And you and I have talked about it, and Chiefs fans know. I mean, he's been much maligned, Eric Bieniemy, right? For whatever, because again, you have Pat Mahomes. Now, look, let's not pretend like race hasn't played a part in why he hasn't gotten a job. Because if Josh McDaniels can get a job, because, I mean, let's just and again, let's look at offensive coordinators of great quarterbacks. I mean, look, Charlie Weiss, turd Ferguson, all right?
Right.
Was never going to be shit in the NFL. Had middling success in college, all right? Raped Kansas athletics, okay? All right? And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah.
Bill O'Brien. Is what he is. Probably a better coach. Don't ever let him be a general manager. Okay?
Right.
But let's call it what it is. Has never sniffed the kind of offensive success that he had in New England anywhere else.
Right.
Even with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
Okay? It wasn't until he handed the play calling over to Tim Kelly 2 years ago, Deshaun's last season when they went 4-12, okay?
Yes.
Okay, shitty numbers on a bad team, or great numbers on a shitty team.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-fucking-do. You were playing, let's not forget, Blake Bortles almost had a 4,000-yard season once in his career, too.
That's true.
Okay? Hell, you and I got into you and I had a lengthy conversation about it on a show about that years ago. So my point in all that is, and look, Matt Nagy, for as great as he was with Pat Mahomes that first year, struggled mightily. Doug Peterson, had to kind of deal with whatever that craziness was in Philly, ends up getting him fired. And of course, then it doesn't hurt. I mean, look, after the absolute tram-shamockery that Urban Meyer was in Jacksonville, okay, to have a guy that knows the NFL, and it was the perfect marriage. It really was. Yeah. Doug needed a reset. Jacksonville needed a reset. Okay. And let's call it what it is. Doug Peterson knows how to coach up the quarterbacks. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
So all that being said, I want to see Eric Bieniemy do well. Okay.
I like to see him do well.
I want, regardless of what happened in Kansas City, regardless of who called plays, who did what, I want to see Eric Bieniemy succeed. Because I think if he goes and succeeds in Washington, I think he finally will get that much, I don't want to say deserved, but at least warranted coaching position. Because I'll tell you what, if you can take the Commanders and make that team respectable.
So let's say they beat Dallas twice.
Yeah. Let's say they go to the playoffs. Let's say
it's over.
Let's say
that's it. That's all you got to say. They make it to the playoffs. I'm cool.
Okay. You're a believer.
I'm a believer.
Okay. Because look, that defense shouldn't be bad too.
Yeah, they got a pretty decent defense. They do have a pretty decent defense.
They've got a pretty decent defense. You got a Chase Young who, oh, by the way, I mean, look, if them telling you, oh, by the way, we're not picking, you're the number 2 overall pick and we didn't pick up your 5th-year option.
Yeah.
If that, I mean, what more motivation do you need?
No, just he's gonna have a hell of a year
if he can stay healthy. Yeah. Durability.
Always. That's the best ability.
That was one of the that was that one ability that you were okay with.
I was durable.
Last thing. I know I said last thing, but we'll say last thing one more time.
One more time
For the folks at home. Have you ever heard? Well, let's ask you this: the Broncos were a shit show last year.
Yeah.
Okay, we all know that. I've got a hot take real quick. The AFC West. Remember how everybody said that was going to be the go-to division last year?
Yes.
All right, and you even had some outlets saying that the Broncos or the Raiders would win the AFC West, and of course we saw how that turned out. The AFC that we thought we were going to get last year, we're going to get that this year, with the exception of the Vegas, with the exception of the Raiders. I am not sold on them. Josh McDaniels is still a piece of shit, and as my boy Mike Babbo said, the over/under on them is 7.5 wins. He's taking the under. Which with Babbo, we kind of knew.
Yeah,
we already know Babbo's taking the under.
He's bitter.
He's bitter for a reason, folks. Shout out to our boy Bitter Mike, big fan of the show, fan of the program as well, friend of the program. Chargers are playing for Brandon Staley's job, and every year the Chargers have weapons. Like that's a team that every year you feel like, okay, there's pieces to make a run, and then they find a way to fuck things up.
They blow it.
Okay, but that's still a team that can win 7, 8, 9 games.
27-point blow in the playoffs.
27-point lead they had. Why? And a lot of people like to. Why do we love up Justin Herbert so much? He's 25 and 24 as a starter.
It's the flowing line.
I'm telling you, it must be. Because that's the thing about Justin Herbert. The thing about Justin Herbert is, are you convinced he's a guy that could put a team on his back and just win games?
He needs help.
He does, right?
He needs help. I mean, he's got a great arm.
Are you convinced that a defensive coach is the way to go?
Not when you have such talent.
Quarterback.
Yeah, a good quarterback and a talented offense, like weapons on offense that are very talented.
What do you think Texans fans are saying when they hear you say that?
Who cares? It's Texans. I love the Texans. That's one of my. I got 4 teams that I follow, and the Texans are one of them. But I don't. When it comes to the fans,
are you a D'Amico guy?
I am for now.
That's it, right?
Yeah, I'm giving them an opportunity. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and like when the draft went around, they did some aggressive.
Oh, they were. I mean, now look, I think they were. I think it was totally boneheaded for them to give up their first-round pick and not the first-round pick that they would have got with Cleveland.
Exactly.
That's it. I mean, Cleveland's going to be a decent team this year. Okay, so Cleveland's going to win 7 to 9 games, right? Maybe. Although Kevin Stefanski might get fired if that's the case. It's going to be an interesting year. I'll tell you what.
It's going to be a great year.
Does anybody need their quarterback to perform more than the Cleveland Browns?
Deshaun's going to do Deshaun things. We've always been a fan of him.
We are, but you saw him last year. He looked terrible. Now, again,
gone for a whole year.
He hadn't played
and then they bring in we're going to bring in somebody else to do the judging and the punishment down. They bring them in.
Yeah.
They set the punishment. Oh, we don't like that. We're gonna make it. We're gonna change that to this. How would that make you feel to go out on the field after that? Your team already done lost the season.
They had.
I was like,
but should it have affected? But I mean, at the end of the day, though, shouldn't you just be happy to get back out on the field? I mean, at the end of the day,
I've been on the field in a year and a half.
Hadn't been on the field in a year and a half.
A year and
I think
I'm happy to be back on the field, but
doesn't that? And I think if anything, that should give some insight into just how difficult the National Football League is.
Oh, it's no cakewalk.
You know what I'm saying? Like, even a guy that's an all-pro quarterback who prior to what happened with all the massage nonsense, it was pretty much he was a top 5, top 7 quarterback in the National Football League. So for him to miss a year and a half, like you said, new system, and Cleveland was kind of a dumpster fire when he got there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right about that. They really were a dumpster fire. So, go ahead.
It's gonna be a good season. I'm interested to see. I want my top teams to do what they're supposed to, but I'm interested to see who's coming up.
No, and look, we'll look. It's still early. I mean, we haven't even had preseason games, and Henry and I do
a game Thursday.
Oh, the kickoff classic or whatever. Hall of Fame game. Hall of Fame game. Henry and I every year we like to do a deal where we pick. Who's going to win? I mean, it's not anything crazy, but we've had some success in years past. And Lord knows, I mean, I'm kind of a hoarder in a way. Lord knows I've probably got some of the results.
It's probably around there somewhere.
I mean, I think I picked the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl the last 5 years, so chances are, I mean, I've been right at least twice. Last thing.
Last thing, people.
Swear to God, hand to God. Sean Payton went scorched earth on Nathaniel Hackett.
Okay.
A couple days ago, right? Basically said that it was one of the worst coaching jobs in NFL history.
Wow.
Whew. Okay.
Sean Payton. Uh-huh.
Which, look, we know Sean Payton is that dude.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's any coach, Bill Parcells comes to mind.
Yeah.
Maybe a Mike Shanahan.
Shanahan, yeah.
And Al Davis, a John Gruden now that he's kicked out of the league. You know, we've already seen the emails, so he's been saying gnarly shit. So Sean Payton comes out and says, you know, it wasn't just Russ last year. You know, everything around him was jacked up. I mean, he talked shit on people still that are still there with the Broncos.
Yeah.
Okay, called it one of the worst coaching jobs in the not just one of the last year, but in the history of the National Football League. Okay, then he goes on and talks shit about the Jets and says, "Look, I've been at places where they tried to win the offseason." So what is he using as an example? He goes back to 2000 when he's like, I was with the Giants, and that was the offseason where the Redskins went out and added Dion and Albert Hainsworth and all these other Shannon Sharp or God knows whoever the hell else they, and he's like, they only won 8 games that year. So my man goes 20 years in the Wayback Machine to use an example of how fucked up the team was and how shitty the Jets are going to be. And he's like, look, why are they going on Hard Knocks? Look at him. So, I mean, he's just throwing smoke at everybody, right? Well, then, of course, walked it back the next day.
Got to.
Okay.
Somebody got me here. Hey.
Somebody?
NFL, we're going to just use that as a body.
You know he got lit. I mean, come on. That story was one of those deals. And then he's like, he goes, me and Jarrett, he goes, I was 2 espressos deep and we're 40 minutes of talking and boom, there you go.
Hey, he smoothed it out, but he didn't say I'm sorry. Like this is what had happened was. All the stuff I said was true.
Effect of, it's hard to coach in the NFL, and
and that's why it was a horrible job. It's not easy.
So then, Aaron Rodgers comes out and says, it was irresponsible of him to say it. He didn't have any right to say it, and to keep his coach's name out of his mouth.
Who is he? Will Smith? Go slap him, my Dave. Double dog Dave.
Does that just get you excited when you hear about, this is where we're at. We got coaches and all-star quarterbacks fighting in the media.
It's Aaron Rodgers and Coach of
Sean Payton.
Right.
But look, I'm going to tell you right now, and I said this on the show last week, and I said this, and my son Xavier took me to task for this, and I'm standing by it. Denver will finish second in the AFC West. All right, because they had a good defense last year. Offense, again, Nathaniel Hackett, as we both know. Look, say what you want. It was a terrible coaching job. Okay. Here's the part that whether we think it was over the top, and maybe it was, is it one of those deals where he just said what everybody else wanted to say? How many first year okay, real quick. In your you've been affiliated with the NFL for over 30 years. Okay?
All right.
Have you ever seen a first-year coach get fired in the first year? In the first year, not after the season was over, with 4 or 5 games left to go.
That says it was a horrible coaching job.
So was he really out of bounds, or was he, was it out of line for him to say it was one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL?
It's media. It's social media. Everybody's trying to be correct.
Is it inflammatory? Yes.
So what?
Is it true?
Truth is inflammatory.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point.
I mean, look, here's the truth. They got a big knot right there. Is that inflammatory? Look how big that is. It's inflammatory, right?
Inflammatory.
It's the truth.
Inflammatory. Yes.
And if you said he's got a big fat ass knot on the back of his head, he ain't talking about a wallet. He ain't talking about money. It's a big knot. It's the truth. What am I supposed to? Now we're gonna somebody gonna make you go apologize?
Were you mad at Travis Kelce for punching backups in practice? And have you ever what was the biggest fight you ever got into in training?
Kelsey's punching the right guys. He's punching the backup guys. He's not punching the starters because this is only the backup guys that are going against him. And it's just his. That's his.
The right guys.
That's his version of raising his leg. Hey, punk, I'm Kelsey. Don't be trying to rip the ball out, but keep ripping the ball out. That guess what?
That's exactly what happened each time.
Yeah.
It was him hitting him after he caught the ball,
and he's trying to rip the ball out.
Yeah.
You know what? Let him get mad. Hold on to the ball. That's what it's going to teach you. Let down the line.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to go and hit
you
the ball.
You think coordinators telling him to do that?
He better be.
Yeah.
I would be telling. I was like, yeah, we know it's Kelsey. We ain't trying to hurt you, but you're gonna hold on to that damn ball.
Yeah.
And that's just plain simple. Now, my big fight was I got in a fight with another defensive lineman.
That's right.
You know, it was one of them days, I became the starter very early. And it was one of those days that everybody was hurt, but I wasn't one of those dumb starters. When I saw I was way down the depth chart, I went to the special team coach and said, hey, man, where you need me? Put me on kickoff and punt return. And it happened to be a day in the full padded practice where all other defensive linemen were hurt.
Yeah.
So I was rookie, so that meant I had to do scout team for the offense.
Right.
I became a starter, so that meant I had to do the starter stuff for the defense.
Okay.
That day was also kickoff and punt return practice. So I had to do all that.
A busy guy that day.
After the practice, we had to run gassers. And I barely made all three of them gassers. Barely. I mean, I'm sucking air.
Right.
And the guy that I carried pads for, because I was rookie, was Doug Martin. Doug was hurt. There was another guy who wasn't a starter, had been on the team for 4 or 5 years. Yeah. And I'm a starter, and he hadn't started, and he told me to carry his pads. And I kicked him. And he came at me, and I, went at him. And then
Fofo came out.
We went at it, and they broke us up, and then we went inside in the rookies' locker room, veterans' locker room, in the shower, and I walked in the shower, and he just looked at me wrong, and I dropped another 3-piece combo on it.
That's it.
And we went
beat a man naked.
Fight where I get mad. You ain't got to worry about it. You're going to say, let's step outside. No, I fight where I get mad. So, and then we had
we might be onto something. Naked fight.
We had a meeting with Jerry Burns, and Jerry asked me what the hell was wrong with me, and I just explained to Jerry that every time he looks at me cross, I'm going to hit him in the face. And they cut him the next day. So.
And fun fact, he later became a Kansas City Chief. So there you go. Bring it full circle.
Full circle. There you
go. Be sure to check out the show, The Big Chief Show, Chief Studios on YouTube, at Henry Thomas NFL on both Twitter and on the IG, and you've been a lot more active on the IG here as of late.
Well, you forced me to be more active.
Look, man, it's just what we're doing.
Today was just a tough. I was going to do it today, but yesterday I had my match play golf match, and wore the guy out. I beat him 5-4, 5 up with 4 holes to play, and then I decided to go ahead and play my second match today.
Back to back.
I played an 18-year-old who was a 4 handicap.
What are you?
I'm a 13.
Okay.
So I got 7 strokes, and I took him all the way to 17. Took him all the way to 17, and then he beat me 2-1 to play. So
what did he? What did he birdie the last or par or what happened?
I was 2 down going into that one, and
so you had to win the 17th hole.
I had to win it, and he hit it.
So even if you guys both parted, he wins.
He still won.
Yeah.
So he drove it on the green from the tee box. So I was like, so I drove it on the green, and he looked at me like, and he was a huge Patriot fan, so he was a young kid though. When he goes and he looks at me, I was like, "You ain't playing against no empty chair, son." But he made the birdie. So
how did it make you feel knowing that even though he was a Patriots fan, he wasn't even alive when he played?
He wasn't alive when I retired.
Well, exactly. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. Yeah.
So
you've been retired longer than he's been alive.
And he was a great kid, good golfer, just really,
Does it give you hope for the future?
Always, yeah. Okay. It absolutely gives me hope. Absolutely.
That's Henry Thomas. I'm Fred Davis. Shout out to our boy. We got G. Rafi, Himothy. He don't know you, little bro. Our boy Tab. I got you, Henry Thomas. He's going to take care of you. Leighton Lynn, the best ball handler on the Santa Fe Trail basketball team. Shout out to all my folks over there in Don't Overlook Overbrook. So my boy Leighton Lynn there. Kid's got skills. Him and Zay, best backcourt in. What are y'all in? 3A? 3A? Is that what's going on back there? 3A. Anywho. All right. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys again next week. And of course, we'll have Henry back on. Anything you want to tell the Chiefs fans between now and the next time we see
Look, between now and the next time, watch training camp. Find those diamonds in the rough. Let me know what defensive linemen and linebackers that are flying under the radar but doing great things. That's what I want to know.
I love it. Chief Studios at the Freddie D, at Henry Thomas NFL, at eSIM Studios. We'll catch you next time. Give us a follow, give us a like, subscribe. You'll be glad you did.
Peace.